Hello, everyone. This is Kimberly Joy. I'm about to record a second program for my radio show, The Kimberly Joy Show, in just a moment. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kimberly Joy, and I thank you for tuning in to The Kimberly Joy Show. I am truly grateful to God for another opportunity to share an inspiring message with you. But before I share today's message, I want to let you know that my mother, First Lady Pastor Jerry Banks, has a show on this station as well. It's called Power and Faith Today, and you can hear her Wednesdays at 4:45 p.m. and Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. I encourage you to tune into her program. You will truly be blessed. Also, you can catch the encore of my show on Saturdays at 6 p.m. In addition, I welcome you to email me at kim_joy73 at yahoo.com, and to visit my blog at thekimberlyjoy.com. My personal motto is know yourself, be yourself, love yourself. Rest in me are the words I hear God speak, especially during the moments when my mind is racing and I'm feeling anxious. Although Philippians 4:6 tells us not to worry about anything, I still sometimes find myself worrying. Not about everything, but about the things my human mind can't figure out. If I can't see how or when a situation is going to be resolved, I become uneasy. The uneasiness is a result of me knowing that I'm not in complete control. However, I have to remember that to have faith in God is to allow God to be in complete control. I'll be the first to acknowledge that resting in God is not always an easy thing to do. In fact, it can be downright difficult. I believe that many of us, if not all of us, like to feel in control. We want to be in complete control of our jobs, of our money, of our love lives, of our children, of the people surrounding us. Nevertheless, it doesn't work that way. If I try to control every circumstance and every person in my life, then I'm taking on more than God has designed for me to handle. Also, I'm trying to do God's job. Have you ever heard the phrase, he'll never put more on you than you can bear? Well, this statement is derived from 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, which says, the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, he will show you a way out so that you can endure. The word temptation is typically defined as a strong urge or desire to do something, especially something wrong or unwise. However, according to the Bible, a temptation is also a trial or test. For instance, in Genesis chapter 22, God tempted or tested Abraham when he instructed Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac. Now, God wasn't trying to persuade Abraham to do something wrong. Rather, God put Abraham through this particular test to prove Abraham's faith. And later in Genesis 22, verse 13, God provided a ram as the real sacrifice. James chapter 1, verses 2 and 3 say, dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. Verse 12 of that same chapter also says, God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. So again, although God takes us through tests from time to time, the tests are never designed to overwhelm us, and they're definitely not designed to destroy us. Instead, these tests are designed to make us better, make us stronger, make us wiser. And how is that possible? Well, it's possible because during the test, as Proverbs 3 and 5 states, we are we are to depend totally on God. Therefore, if I find myself becoming overwhelmed and stressed out, it is simply because I haven't placed it all in God's hands. I can't blame anyone but me. Again, God says, rest in me. So what does it mean to rest? To rest is to be free from anxiety or disturbance. Another definition is to remain confident. Therefore, when we rest in God, our minds are at peace because we know that God has our situations under control. As I mentioned before, resting in God is not always easy, but it can be done if we put it into practice. For the next few weeks, I'm going to share with you some ways in which I have learned how to rest in God. And I'll admit that I am still learning how to consistently rest in Him. One way in which you can rest in God is through worship. Yes, worship. You can find rest in God as you worship Him. So find time to worship God. Yes, even during the hustle and bustle of the day. Find a place to be alone where you can worship God. If it means that you have to go to the bathroom or go to your car, find a place to be alone. Believe it or not, I have had some awesome worship experiences in my bathroom and in my car. As a teacher, I would close and lock my classroom door in order to get a few moments alone with God. And trust me when I say that, it doesn't take long for God to meet you right where you are. He knows how much time you may have at that particular moment, and He appreciates you sacrificing that time for Him. When my mind is being bombarded with so many thoughts and I find myself becoming overwhelmed, emotional, sad, even angry, worship calms me. As I sing or listen to one of my favorite worship songs and just meditate on the goodness of God, I am reminded that He is my everything. In that moment, He becomes priority, while everything and everyone else take a back seat. Then His love, His joy, His peace fill my heart. And I am no longer bothered by my present circumstance because in the midst of worship, God reassures me that He has my back. In that moment, God may even reveal some things to me and give me the answers I've been seeking in prayer. These worship experiences make me think about one of my favorite stories in the Bible involving the Apostle Paul. In this particular story, Paul and Silas were beaten and thrown in jail for simply preaching about Jesus. Being beaten, chained, locked up would be terrifying for anyone. I honestly can't imagine how I would respond in such a situation. However, these two men of God, in the midst of suffering, in the midst of pain from the beatings, decided to glorify God. In fact, in Acts chapter 16, beginning with verse 25, we read that around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God while the other prisoners were listening. Suddenly, there was a massive earthquake, and all the prison doors flew open. Immediately, they flew open, and the chains of every prisoner fell off. The prison guard then woke up and saw that the doors were wide open. He naturally assumed that the prisoners had escaped, so he was going to take his sword and kill himself because he knew that this meant nothing but trouble for him. But Paul shouted to him, "Stop! Don't kill yourself. We are all here." The guard then ran to Paul and Silas and asked them, "What must I do to be saved?" So they told him, "Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, along with everyone in your household." And indeed, the guard and his family believed in Jesus and they were baptized that night. And then check this out. Now remember, they were beaten before they were thrown in jail, right? Well, the guard took it upon himself to wash and bandage their wounds. He also invited them into his home and fed them. Then the very next morning, the city officials sent the police to tell the prison guard to let Paul and Silas go free. Wow. Their worship. Think about this. Their worship set them free. And just like Paul and Silas, my God, just like Paul and Silas were set free from physical chains, worshiping God can set you free from the thoughts that try to chain your mind. So I encourage you in those moments, just worship God. Invite his presence into your situation and watch him move on your behalf. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to today's broadcast. I pray that this message has been a blessing to you. Next week, I'll share more about what you can do to find rest in God. Again, you can catch the encore of my show on Saturdays at 6 p.m. Also, please feel free to email me at kim_joy73@yahoo.com with any questions, comments, or even prayer requests. And I invite you to visit my blog at thekimberlyjoy.com. My motto is, know yourself, be yourself, love yourself. I would like to leave you with a song by Kevin Vassar entitled, Only You Can Deliver. Until next time, please know that I love you, but God loves you the most.